Walt Whitman's Crossing Brooklyn Ferry is a powerful and meditative poem that explores themes of interconnectedness, the passage of time, and the individual's place within the vast scope of history. The poem, set aboard a ferry crossing the East River from Brooklyn to Manhattan, is both an intimate reflection on personal experience and a universal contemplation on the shared human condition. Introduction to the setting and theme. The poem opens with a description of the speaker on a ferry traveling across the East River between Brooklyn and Manhattan. Whitman describes the scene, not merely as a physical journey across water, but as a metaphorical journey into the realms of thought and connection. The speaker invites readers to join him in contemplating the significance of the moment, suggesting that this seemingly ordinary trip carries greater meaning when viewed through the lens of time and human experience. The power of the moment. The speaker reflects on the power of the present moment, which is not just a fleeting instant but a connection to a greater continuum. He acknowledges the role of the senses in experiencing the world, from the sight of the cityscape to the physical sensations of the journey. Whitman's attention to sensory detail, the sights and sounds of the ferry, underscores the idea that the act of experiencing is both a deeply personal and a universally shared event. The present moment, as he suggests, is part of a larger, continuous flow, in which every individual is both a participant and an observer of life's unfolding. The role of the ferry. The ferry itself becomes an important symbol in the poem, representing not only the physical act of crossing between two locations but also the metaphorical crossing between life and death, past and future. The ferry ride is a threshold between two worlds, Brooklyn and Manhattan, the present and the future, the living and the dead. Whitman describes the ferry's movement through the water as a fluid, unstoppable force, mirroring the passage of time that carries all people along with it. The shared experience of the river. Whitman's meditations shift from the immediate experience of the ferry ride to a broader, more expansive view of human existence. He reflects on how all individuals, regardless of their background, share the experience of crossing the same river. In this sense, the river becomes a metaphor for the flow of time and the shared experiences that unite people across generations. Whitman emphasizes that just as he is crossing the river now, others, both living and those in the future, will also cross it. Time and the future. One of the central themes of the poem is the relationship between the speaker and future generations. Whitman imagines people who will cross the same river long after him, asserting that their experiences will be just as significant as his own. In doing so, he acknowledges the transitory nature of his own life while expressing a belief in the immortality of human experience. Whitman conveys that the experiences of the present moment will resonate through time, reaching future generations who will carry the same thoughts, feelings, and physical experiences. The connection between all people. The speaker emphasizes that the experience of crossing the ferry is not just his own but is shared with everyone who has ever made the journey, both before him and after him. He imagines the presence of past generations, suggesting that the people who came before him are still with him in spirit. This reflection underscores Whitman's belief in the interconnectedness of all human beings, a central theme in much of his work. By focusing on the shared experience of crossing the river, the poem explores the way in which each individual's life is part of a larger, collective human narrative. The role of memory and presence. Whitman meditates on the concept of memory, particularly how past experiences continue to resonate with the present. As he stands on the ferry, he is aware of the countless individuals who have crossed the same waters before him, and he feels an intimate connection with them. The past is not something distant and disconnected but an integral part of the present, continuing to influence and shape the experiences of those who follow. Whitman suggests that memory and the presence of past lives is always with us. The speaker's call to the future. A significant portion of the poem is dedicated to the speaker's call to future generations. Whitman envisions the people who will cross the river long after his time, speaking to them as if they are already present. He implores them to recognize the continuity of life and to honor the connections between the past, present, and future. This vision of the future is not one of separation but of unity. Whitman's message is that, though time may pass and the individual may fade, the connections between people and the shared human experience will persist. The poem as a form of immortality. Whitman's poem ultimately becomes a kind of immortality project, where his voice transcends the boundaries of time. By articulating his experiences on the ferry and his reflections on life, death, and time, Whitman creates a permanent record of his thoughts. Through this poem, he ensures that his connection to future generations will not be forgotten. The poem itself becomes a vehicle for preserving the experience of the present moment, allowing future readers to access the thoughts and feelings of the poet and, by extension, the thoughts and feelings of all people who have crossed the ferry before him. The poem concludes by reaffirming the interconnectedness of all individuals across time and space. The ferry ride, as a symbol of life's journey, connects not only those who are currently making the crossing but also those who have crossed before and those who will cross in the future. Whitman's meditation on the shared experience of crossing the river becomes a meditation on the shared experience of living itself.